Okay, I'm about to put a Bear Independent video up. And you need to share this, okay? Especially to the likes of Ricardo Bosey, Carl Leibold, David Graham, John Wilson. All of our so-called Trump is a fucking hero politicians like Pauline Hanson and friends. They're independent, runs with other co-organisers an organisation called Caleb House. Caleb House does the things everywhere, not just in America. Like, they do shit, kicking indoors and saving kids, and they work in conjunction with some people under the radar, people with the FBI and all of the above of the so-called tremendous, we're going to save all these kids, it's going to be tremendous people in America. The National Guard, Border Patrol, all of them. He actually works with these people, okay? He is the boots on the ground. He doesn't just know boots on the ground, he is the boots on the ground. There was not 70,000 children saved. It's a load of shit. Right, I'm going to put it on. This dude knows his shit. It's actual intel, not hearsay, not public bullshit. Right, I'll put the periscope up. I will not interrupt this. I know sometimes I say that, and I do. But I promise you, I'm not going to. Why? Because it's too important. It's like, there's no way in a million years I can articulate what this man does, even close to as well as he does. Because why? Because he's the boots on the ground. I'm only second-hand information.
Bear Independent Brief, 26 December 25. While GDP expanded at a robust 4.3% clip in Q3, quarter 3, the fastest expansion in 2 years, monthly job creation averaged just 51,000, which is a fraction of what would normally accomplish such growth. The unemployment rate climbed to 4.6% in November, the highest since 2021. For the year, the economy has added fewer than 500,000 jobs, down sharply from 1.6 million during the same period in 2024. Lawrence J. White, an economist at NYU's Stern School of Business, said, quote, "The economy can expand without hiring much. We're building a system that runs faster than its employees. That's a long-term shift, not a one-year blip," end quote. Why the disconnect? A big part of the story might be the automation and artificial intelligence, as companies are now investing heavily in technologies that boost productivity without adding workers. The fiscal policies in Trump's second term, including large corporate tax cuts and immediate write-offs for equipment and software, have only accelerated this trend, as firms can now deduct the cost of automation investment almost immediately, creating a powerful incentive to choose machines over people. Consumer spending has helped fuel growth, climbing 3.5%, accounting for more than half of total expansion. Unfortunately, as discussed in previous briefs, much of that spending comes from the upper income households, not the broader population.
What if you can create your own website by saying, "This is what I want"? With Wix, you can. First off, let's talk about AI color themes.
It's not.
Meanwhile, the Federal Reserve's higher interest rates have made borrowing harder for small businesses, giving large corporations an advantage, resulting in what economists call a two-tier economy. Joseph Bruselas, chief economist at RSM, describes the situation as, quote, "the great decoupling of jobs and growth," end quote, that will, quote, take some explaining to the American public. Yeah, it's going to take a lot of explaining, Joseph. I'm sorry, Bill. I'm sorry, Susie. You don't have a job anymore, and your dollar is worth shit. But don't worry, that's okay, because the economy is growing because of the robots. It's going to take a lot of explaining, and then we end up at UBI, Universal Basic Income, which doesn't work, not only because the money has no value whatsoever, but then the people end up having no value. And I don't mean within the beast system, I mean that they don't derive purpose and fulfillment because they're not gainfully engaged in work, which is a violation of 1 Timothy 5 verse 8. He who does not work has denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. That's something to think about when we talk about UBI. I'm a little spicy. I banned a guy on Patreon this morning for violating Rule 1, which is everybody be cool to each other. Bye-bye. So, yeah. In any event. In his analysis, Joseph Brusellis notes that the powerful but uneven recovery is driven by automation, high-income consumption, and AI-related capital spending. Even as business confidence improves, hiring and tensions among mid-sized companies, traditionally a key source of job creation, remains flat. Naturally, this has political ramifications because despite strong GDP numbers and stock market highs, voters aren't buying the economic optimism. Me either. I don't see the economic optimism. What I see is an AI bubble of AI companies investing in other AI companies. And it has yet to meaningfully impact the quality of life of the vast majority of American citizens and most businesses, because AI is being in the public sectors being incorporated, being rolled out as business efficiency. Use AI, it creates business efficiency. Well, it doesn't. It's actually a pain in the ass. How do I know? I have companies. It's actually a pain in the ass. The quality of work goes down. And you spend a fair amount of time babysitting the people that are babysitting the AI to make sure it's producing the appropriate results. So we don't use that. It's not allowed at my companies. Also, because ChatGPT, in particular, say it with me, there is a persistent and ongoing 0-day exploit that touches everything, affects everything that touches the internet, to the highest echelons of American society. ChatGPT is exploited. I don't want our company information in ChatGPT. That's retarded. So we don't do that. And consumers, the people that are interacting with your company or my company, we know when we're talking to a person and we know when we're talking to a robot. We don't want to talk to robots. They have no soul, literally. So while big tech might be $1 trillion industry, this AI, at the consumer level, people aren't interested. At the business level, enterprise level, people aren't interested. I'm not interested in incorporating AI into what we're doing. So I don't believe the numbers. And let's shift gears just momentarily. There's a lot of numbers that are coming out of this administration that I don't find believable at all.
Listen to this. Listen to this. I'll give you a sec. Go on.
And just as a brief side stroke here, one of the others is all of the counter trafficking numbers. Oh, ICE rescued 70,000 children. Oh, did they? Where are they? Because the only only ripples about that. I mean, there's a vast network of good guys below the threshold of detection that do counter trafficking inside the United States of America, of which Caleb House is a part. Not a peep. Not a peep. The only reporting on that is public reporting from the mainstream media. I find that very questionable. And I'll tell you for a fact, there's no place to put 70,000 kids. That's why we're building Caleb House. So I don't buy the numbers coming out of this administration. Speaking of which, naturally, this AI thing has political ramifications because despite strong GDP numbers and stock market highs, voters aren't buying the economic optimism. According to The Economist YouGov polling, slightly over 60% of independents said the economy is getting worse. On top of that, consumer sentiment tracked by the University of Michigan has fallen to levels typically seen during recessions. White explained, quote, households don't experience GDP. They experience prices, wages, and hours worked. Right now, all three feel out of sync with the official data, end quote. The White House has tried to spin the GDP report as vindication, and Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt declared that, quote, the doubters, naysayers, panic mongers, and liberal media have been saying wrong again. But with the 2026 midterms approaching, that message appears to be falling flat. You know, I like when Caroline Leavitt just, goes to town on some of these reporters or, quote, journalists in the room. I do. I appreciate that. I like a good smackdown on occasion. But they're wrong on this one. The White House is wrong on this one. And I actually agree with... The Economist, which is rough. Households don't experience GDP. They do experience prices, wages, and hours worked. And all that does seem out of date with the official data. The federal government is broke. There's a little insider baseball there, but you can find all kinds of data on that. Pentagon failed its audit again. What happened, I wouldn't say the last time the Pentagon failed an audit, because they fail lots of them, but something, I don't know, about several $1 trillion missing somewhere around September 11th, 2001. Yeah. And then I'd keep an eye on that.
You know your business better than anyone, right? So why not build an app to run it with Base 44? This finance app solves your...
Oh, hey, Wolverine lookalike. Wolverine one.
So, the federal government's out of money. The dollar is incredibly weak, and it's going to get weaker. And we have a potential for international hyperinflation.
You wasn't expecting that one.
The whole world is $315 trillion in debt. To whom?
I love you.
To whom is the world in debt?
Buy good clothes.
Okay.
I will.
You better.
I will.
They had some nice white jeans.
What might be ahead? Brucellus expects the trend to continue, projecting expansion well above the long-term trend through 2026, powered by tax incentives and private investment. In his view, the economy and financial markets will continue to expand at a strong clip, but job creation will remain tepid. Another perspective to consider. Some analysts argue that concerns about AI-driven joblessness may be premature. A recent analysis by Vanguard found that occupations most exposed to AI actually saw real wages increase compared to other occupations, while job growth in AI-exposed roles was up versus elsewhere. Box CEO Aaron Levy, that's an interesting name, has argued that, quote, if you lower the cost of building software, you have 10 times a use case for software, predicting that people who predicted mass job destruction will be proven wrong. Well, Aaron Levy, I disagree with you, because right now, nobody wants this AI. And I think there's a lot of things going on here as far as this. Not everybody wants this AI. The federal government and the Department of Defense are super into it. They view it as a super weapon, which is why they put a 10-year moratorium on states intervening with legislation concerning artificial intelligence. But what's happening here is that this AI bubble is likely causing a rift between economic data and the fiscal reality for the average people like you and me. And that's only going to get accelerated as the federal government and the Department of Defense wholesale adopts this, because it's going to put even more money and even more faith into artificial intelligence. So the economy will look like it's doing great, but the economy is not going to affect the job market numbers, which are down, and consumer spending, which is down, and the value of the dollar, which is down. And so it will continue to expand that rift in between the haves and the have-nots, if you will. Upper middle class, upper class, and the middle class and lower class. There is a gap there, and that gap will continue to expand. So, and who gets out and votes? The upper middle class and upper class will provide money for campaigns. But the middle class and lower class, there's substantially more of those people. And as if voting mattered anyway. It doesn't. The ballot box doesn't work. Soapbox doesn't work. Which leaves what? The cartridge box? Voice box ain't working. Let's move on to national intel, shall we? Absolutely, Bear. Yes, we shall. All right. The Waterville Arsenal, located in New York State, is upgrading its electrical switching station to include the addition of 2 4-megawatt generators to prepare for long-term power outages. Construction to start in March 2026. Next. Midday, December 18, received an email from one of the 2 territory managers at my place of work. We provide maintenance and service to Walmart, Cisco, Juniper, and AP Mist systems along with their self-checkouts and registers. The email outlined a new procedure for hardening security by providing our Quick Look ID and our CE code when we contact our hardware support team. At the surface, this isn't a big deal, but it was pushed down to us with the high importance email. Also, as the tech of 5 years, I've begun to notice a lot of corrupted files on SEOs these past 2 or 3 months. For instance, the GSR50 is the cash recycler machine in the self-checkout. It's a fairly reliable machine provided the proper maintenance is being performed. However, for some reason, they have been completely dropping off from the system, and the only way to fix it is by replacing the SSD in the head unit. This is abnormal because that would mean files are being corrupted and the machine itself isn't breaking. Just had to go down Monday at the same store, and other techs have expressed the same issue. Oh, self-checkout's getting hacked. That's fun. Wayne County, West Virginia. You mean best Virginia? By God. When I first moved out here about 3 years ago, I hardly ever saw stray dogs, and if one was out, someone would have picked it up within an hour or two. But within the past 3 months or so, our holler has been full of stray dogs. They've killed all my turkeys and most of my chickens. I would shoot them, but they wait till I'm away at work. One even busted through the wire on my coop. I think this is a sign of the economic situation that most Americans, especially in the rural areas, they just don't have the money to feed them, so they let them loose to search for food, only to get run over on roads or shot by property owners. I think this could get dangerous because they go feral really quick when left to fend for themselves like that, as well as carry and transmit rabies. Might not be a bad idea to have a shoot-on-sight philosophy with strange dogs. Now, I didn't write this because I don't live in Wayne County, West Virginia, and a bunch of you people have gotten really mad at me over the years because they're like, Pastor Bear, I can't believe you shoot doggos. You shoot them? Wow. Why would you do that? Well, the only stray dogs that I shoot are the ones that my 3 livestock guardian dogs don't kill on sight, because we have cows and sheep and turkeys and chickens. Plus, you may not know this, but stray dogs are not good for the natural wildlife either. They will push down the population of your deer, your wild turkeys, your rabbits, all that other stuff as well. So, I'm a dog person. I love dogs. Big doggo fan. if you eat my livestock and you're not me, you will get shot. Including dogs that I've had myself in the past that have killed our livestock. And I have shot and buried my own dog. Because that's just the rules. So, I know that everybody thinks, I'll just drive to the end of a long dirt road and open a door and let little flew out. They're going to have a good life. No, they're not. They're not. They're going to get shot or hit by a car or killed by a livestock guardian dog. They're not going to have a good life. So please don't do that. Because they do pack up. And once they do pack up and they operate in that pack mentality, they're actually quite dangerous. So, yeah, I concur. Next, happened on 17 December. My father works for a fuel handling company and said one of the depots that supplies the fuel for delivery to gas stations had a drone surveying the property. Wow. Pre-operational intelligence? No way. The depots have very good surveillance equipment to the point that they can see if you have an earbud on with a hoodie pulled up. A driver got suspended for this exact scenario as it is a secure facility and poses a spark hazard for fumes from the fuel. They recorded a license plate in fairly local, roughly 30-mile distance, but the suspect was not apprehended at this time to my knowledge. The authorities missed them by a 15-minute window, and as soon as the drone was noticed, he flew it back and hightailed it out of there. This is in the western part of Kentucky, Paducah area, but this depot serves as a hub for several dozen gas stations with a 100-mile radius. Next, at this time of writing this email, I'm currently watching the December 19th Bear Brief. You're talking about Walmart, something you've talked about quite a bit. I don't think this is a coincidence, but around Thanksgiving, Walmart purchased a 1.28 million square foot building next to Luke Air Force Base in Arizona. Odd strategic placement, cough cough, if you know you know. Yeah, how interesting. Next, yesterday, I work on a roof here in D-Land. I don't know how to pronounce that word, D-Land. It looks like D-Land, Florida. When I saw two A-10 warthogs flying in a wingman formation at about a half-mile separation, heading due southeast towards Patrick Space Force Base at 1621 hours Eastern Time. I didn't see any ordnance on the aircraft, but I've lived in this area well over 25 years, and this is the very first time I've seen my favorite airplanes flying over Central Florida without there being an air show. I was born at Shaw Air Force Base in South Carolina, where the same F-22s were scrambled for the Tortorino Spiral Run. My dad was a U.S. Air Force Fighting Falcon and Strike Eagle Specialist Mechanic for 8 years. I believe those two A-10s were heading to the Patrick to refuel, then on to annihilate some Venezuela tanks, or they were headed to Syria today. Either way, this is more proof that things are really heating up globally. Or they were doing exercises. Now, there's a lot of hardware in the Caribbean right now. Venezuela. There's a lot of hardware in the Caribbean right now. And, it's gonna happen. There are already RFPs, requests for price, for contractors. You can find it at sam.gov. We'll just say, to protect the infrastructure in Venezuela after the United States has taken it. Yeah, that's already out there. So that means what? That the United States intends to take it. Also, really interesting, you can find this open source. China's, their containerized rocket launcher systems. So it looks like a 40-foot shipping container, 50-foot shipping container.
Tao này luôn blade. Đi mua blade. How's all these blades? There's another blade. And
yeah.
Nice.
The lid lifts up, and there's 4 tubes full of rockets in there. Yep. How many of those are out in the United States of America? How many of those are mounted on Chinese ships right now? How many, and here's another thing. China's commercial fleet is built to their military specifications. Deck strength. They want the decks of these fishing vessels and transport vessels to be able to carry tanks, dual use. We've talked about that in the past. Okay, so think about one of these cargo ships out there in the ocean carrying all these containers and full of stuff currently, but could be full of military stuff, and some of them probably are full of military stuff, and some of that military stuff has come through our ports and is already here inside of this country in containers, to say nothing of the drone swarm containers that already exist and are being employed in certain places like Ukraine. Now, containerized, think about this. You want to turn a civilian vessel into a military vessel. Well, it's going to need certain things. It's going to need, better radars and defensive systems and offensive systems and more berthing and all that. But if it's all containerized and you just stack the appropriate containers, like modules, on the deck of a commercial vehicle, commercial ship, boom, now we have a military ship. Brilliant, honestly. Next, Shalom, I live in eastern Pennsylvania, and last Sunday I was at this state game range with a few members of my tribe. While we were shooting, I noticed about 4 to 5 military-age males, Middle Eastern. No way. On state land. They're Middle Eastern guys on state land acting funny. I feel like I've heard this somewhere before. They got out of their car and started recording everyone shooting. They were taking pictures of faces and the guns that we had. When confronted, they claimed that they were tourists and wanted to know where they can rent a gun. We gave them a range that was over an hour away and would be closed by the time they arrived. They still wouldn't leave and continued to record even after I told them not to. Then I took my phone out and took pictures of them and their license plates, and as soon as they noticed, they quickly fled. After sending information over to the game warden, they informed me there was nothing they could do, but something in my gut was uneasy. I think the father put up a red flag for me. Things really are going to get stupid. Stay safe. Yeah, I agree. I don't want to be right about this. I just am having a hard time coming up with ways that I am wrong about this. Next, I'm a law enforcement officer at a decently sized agency, and we've been experiencing a prolonged network outage that severely limits our effectiveness. Where have I heard this one before? Everything from basic report writing to computer-aided dispatch and intelligence operations has been impacted. No explanation of the cause of the outage, just word that we will continue to experience intermittent issues with no end in sight. Everything, everywhere, all at once? And last, oddly enough, ever since the original AWS servers going down a few weeks ago, we've had a ton of HVAC customers calling in with complaints about their ecobee thermostats not working properly. All of the calls are similar in nature and usually come in at the same time. The complaint is consistently, I have internet, but my ecobee thermostat is not working properly or connecting to my Wi-Fi. Our owner did some digging and found out that the ecobee thermostats are hosted by Amazon Web Services, AWS. From what we've been able to tell, there seems to be more small-scale AWS server drops happening fairly frequently, at least once per week or every 2 weeks since the original Amazon Web Services outage. Yep. Here's the thing, Bear Nation. Let me again restate my intent. It is my intent to prepare you adequately to happen to the world, not to have the world happen to you, so that you can operate on behalf of the Most High as His hands and feet to be the light for the preservation of life. And I gotta remind myself regularly, because I know there are many, many, many of y'all out there doing the things, and for that I'm thankful for. You encourage me. And there's also many people that are just not. They're not doing the things, or they're not a good fit, and that's okay. And so let's just remove all the value of judgment there. That's okay. You can conduct yourself like a dick, you're going to get banned on the internet or in real life. You talk about prepping, but you don't, you're going to get banned by life. And well, that's okay. It just is, right? Now, here's the thing. I would be doing this anyway. I was doing this anyway before I had a YouTube channel. I do this anyway. I do significantly more in real life than what you see on the YouTube channel. I'd be doing this anyway.
Herbs don't help you heal unless you activate them. Let me explain.
Zinc.
It's like today.
Got that zinc?
We need to. I think that the period of time for preparedness to be an elective is over. This is not a nice to have anymore. This is going to be a need to have. I cannot find a data set anywhere where it's like, oh, here's some good news, boys and girls. No. We've been living in an anomaly, historical anomaly of relative peace and prosperity, and that's coming to an end. And hard times will be upon us, brothers and sisters. But hard times have been upon us, Americans, sons and daughters of the Most High, believers in Christ before. And we shall overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. Be not afraid. But acceptance is required. Okay, yeah. All indicators point towards on the macro scale. On the micro scale, all indicators point towards praise Yahuwah Elohim, creator of the heavens and the earth. So be careful what you're looking at, which data you're building your assessments off of. But also, physical preparedness is no longer optional, because for most of human history, it required a level of physical preparedness. Being physically fit, having a stockpile of food, being capable of being dangerous, being able to move, knowing where water is, and how to clean water, how to clean animals, how to get out of a storm, build shelter, not get a sunburn, all these things. There's a lot more of that in our mitochondrial DNA than there is sit in an air-conditioned space under fluorescent lamps in our mitochondrial DNA. So the anomaly is coming to an end, and it's going to be a rough adjustment for most people, and I don't want that for you, which is why we say, do the things. As always, the show is brought to you by the creator of the universe, Yahuwah Elohim, the Lord our God. The wonderful people over on Patreon, the economic engine of the Bear Nation. By the way, I think around the first of the year, I'm going to be closing the $10 tier. I will grandfather it in. If you're already there, you're fine. You can stay at the $10 tier, no problem. But I'm going to be readjusting the tiers on Patreon intentionally, because I'm getting flooded with intelligence day by day, and I don't have the ability to share all of it in this format day by day. So I think I'm going to start sharing, like on the upper tiers, sharing those, bit by bit, drip by drip as it comes in for those that want it. And if you're currently on Patreon and like we're at, it's just very simple. Just do nothing and it'll be fine, because you'll stay grandfathered in exactly where you were at. And of course, refugemedical.com. If the fat man wasn't good to you yesterday and you need a first aid kit, or you got an HSA, FSA burning a hole in your pocket, or you need to get your bucket system for basically field expedient field hospital, right? Hospital in your closet, wound care bucket, birthing bucket, surgical bucket, postpartum bucket, all the buckets. refugemedical.com. And the training tab is filled with training dates for 2026. I would recommend you come to class, because Possession of the equipment does not equate to proficiency with the equipment. Promo code BearNation gets you 10% off everything in the store. If there's anything we can do to help you, call the store, shoot us an email, or use the chat function on the website that goes to real people, not artificial intelligence. And with that, I bid you adieu. I will see you when I see you. Have a wonderful, blessed day of prep and a wonderful, blessed day of rest.
That. You still think you're, if you still honestly believe that your favourite tiny hat, yeah, tiny hats, what do you put inside tiny hats? Tiny brains. If you think that your favourite tiny hat is still on your side, I can't help you. That's... You've been fed full of shit. Right, black hat, white hat, tiny hat. If you're following the black, white hat fucking scenario, then you're obviously wearing a tiny hat. There's not much I can do about it. That's for you to do something about. Yeah, I used to follow the black hat, white hat bullshit, but just couldn't get the hat on. You know, like, not that I've got a big head. Just that hat's too small. Trust me, my son's got a bigger head than me. His hats fall off me. But I just can't get that one on. It got to the point, it fitted for a little bit, sort of, and then I realised it was, I don't know, the hat just kept shrinking. It just kept shrinking. Like it was getting washed in hot water. Or maybe the Most High was giving me some wisdom, which grew my brain. Something. I'll put it to you this way. Your black hat, white hat, tiny hat, ass hat, she did. An ass hat, what's inside an ass hat? Yeah, she did. What they have done, and they're all doing it, there's a bunch of people doing it. There's a bunch of people doing it. And that Farmer Gronk, whatever his name is, Farmer Fred, Farmer fucking Barney, I don't know, he's a bit of a Flintstone. They've all found a way to pretend to be enemies, you know, frenemies, and argue against one another and get you all arguing with each other and your families, and what used to be a group of an entire nation is now fighting with itself over who's your favourite fucking talking head. I think it's fucking pathetic, and you need to fucking grow up and fuck these fuckwits off out of it. Grow up. If you really want to fix the situation, like he says, things are about to get real hot, real quick. And if you don't get... There's all sorts of ways of getting banned. If you're not careful, life will ban you. That kind of means getting deleted, you know. Is that what you want? Do you want your kids to get deleted, your family to get deleted? Are you just going to sit back for another year and trust the plan? It's a con. They found a way to market your desperation in a way that puts your money in their pocket. By not asking for donations over and over and over again. It's reverse psychology. Reverse psychology 101. Textbook fucking dumbasses know that. And sorry if I'm insulting you, perhaps it's what you need. You need to smack up the ear hole. Fucking wake up, cunt. Fucking wake up. I had to smack myself up the ear hole. Wake up. You're having everyone pitted against you to keep you chasing your own ass round and round and round and round in a circle, kind of like someone who spent 40 or 50 years racing speedway on the same track and not realising it's fucking boring. 10 years was enough for me. It's just chasing your own ass. See who can be the first person to catch their own ass. Second place is the first loser because he's got his nose stuck up somebody else's ass. Black coffee. Why? Because milk ain't milk anymore, that's why. I know what that is, it's not milk. I remember milk. I remember getting milk straight from the dairy farm, straight out of the vat. It hasn't been homogenised, pasteurised or anything. Take it home, leave it there in a big 20 litre bucket, scrape the cream off it myself. I don't do that anymore. Well, guess what? I didn't fucking die. I never got sick off it once. Nobody did. I don't know anyone that ever got sick straight from milk straight from the cow. I've had cow warm milk that was still warm. Straight from the cow. She was alright. Bit warm. Tiny little bit sour, but not too bad. Why? Because it's still got the cream in it. Cream sour until you put sugar with it. That's why it don't whip up properly without sugar. It's a little bit acidic. A little bit sour. But, yeah. It's one thing that I learnt from burning myself. I've had plenty of burns in my time, but nothing like this. Now I know how to treat a 2nd degree burn. 3rd degree's a bit out of my reach. How often do you see someone with 3rd degree burns? 3rd degree burns quite often ends up in limb loss. Probably better off to just tourniquet that motherfucker and hack it off. Gnaw it off with your gums and grow a new leg. Oh, look, come on. Like, seriously, if you're still trusting the plan after 6 years with zero, absolutely zero ground gained, Helen Keller could beat you in a fucking a race around a fucking maze without a walking cane or anything, without a seeing eye dog, just oh, by the way, Helen Keller's a load of shit. She didn't do anything. But that was all plagiarism by a carer, by whoever took care of her. It was plagiarism. It was all lies. She made a lot of money out of it. God bless you, bye for now. Share it around. Look, share this. If you really want to wake some people up, like wake them up properly, share this to those who need to see it. 70,000 children were not saved. Sorry, Donald Trump. It's lies. Tremendous lies. Bullshit. Oh, mainstream media, you're full of shit. You're full of shit. You're so full of shit. I'm going to get my own full of shit mainstream media. It's tremendous. I do a terrible Donald Trump. Don't care. Who'd want to do that much longer? He's a con man.